Hey, editing Ophis here. OBS ate the audio specifically for the players, but not me for some reason. So now the entire episode sounds like a schizophrenic delusion. I'm going to try to fix it. I will almost certainly fail, but periodically you will hear me chime in to give general summaries of what the players were saying at the time. It is based entirely off of memory, and I will almost certainly get things wrong, but it is the only way I can think of fixing this without replaying the entire session, which I don't think anyone would want to do. So if you can bear with that, awesome. If you can't, I totally get it. Try your best to enjoy. Otherwise, just see you next week.
I believe you guys said that you were basically going to end the day, and you were just going to spend the rest of the day in the bar gathering that information. Then you weren't gonna go out at night, basically, because it was like 4 or 5 o'clock. So I'm going to say that the long rest happened. Everyone should still have all their stuff, but in case you didn't, click the long rest button anyway. You long rest, nothing happens. There's no nightmares, no dreams. No one shows up in your room and attacks you. It is a relatively safe city, all things considered. And you're sleeping in literally Fort Knox, so you're pretty safe. Asterisk. Anyway, the next morning begins. You are told by the assistant of the Sept, who none of you have met except Addie, but Addie recognizes him, and he informs you that the boat is ready if you would like to take it out, and that you have been given one of the moderately skilled helmsmen that they had to spare. His name is Seek, S-E-A-K, and he will be helming your boat for this adventure. He was one of the few who are not actively needed, so you're allowed to borrow him for however long you need him for. He is not a Seek, S-E-A-K. He is not a combatant. If boarding begins, he disappears. He does not have a stat block. He functions as the helmsman. He succeeds at all helming checks. His existence allows the facilitation of the boat to move. He does no more than that. Seek, like the C, S-E-A, and then with a K at the end. No, that would be S-E-E-K. That's fine. You could bring rations on the sea. Also, I mean, the 3 Outlanders can technically attempt to fish. It wouldn't be guaranteed, but it'd be a relatively easy survival check to catch fish or do other things. You could be cannibals. I mean, one of them is a goblin. Calyx can tell you they probably don't taste very great. No, but you know people who definitely would have eaten goblin, and they would have been like, "Damn, this sucks. Like, I would much rather eat something else." You are at the naval yard, and in front of you, you see a relatively, let's call it, fun-sized vessel. The vessel is big enough to hold approximately 10 people, though it is compact enough that it only needs 3 people to crew it. This vessel has enough deck space for the majority of you, though it's not necessarily the most comfortable, and it looks an awful lot like this. Yeah, so this is what your boat looks. Technically, you're still at dock, but this is what your boat looks like. This is your current quote-unquote positioning. As I explained to you already, but for the people who are listening, you have 2 fixed cannons on each side. You have 2 starboard, 2 port. Your boat can move 5 ocean tiles per turn if the captain orders it to do so. Seek is currently at the steering wheel. He will not move, and like I said, he is your helmsman. You have 1 big sail in the center. At the top is a crow's nest where the spotter must be to do spotting checks. The sail is 20 feet tall. The sail is 15 feet tall, but standing in the crow's nest would make you 20 feet tall at where you're standing. Basically you'd be standing on the pole, basically. So any of those, that square there. And then you're 20 feet off the deck with a rope ladder that you can traverse. It's a rope ladder, so it is traversable, not as difficult terrain. It's just 20 feet of movement, but you would need to climb down first. Or jump. Your choice. Or jump. Well, the boat is 10 feet high because it is a large ship. So he would fall 30 feet. So he'd take 3d6 bludgeoning. He's wearing metal. He is. First of all, the water's not as peaceful as it looks. Second of all, you don't know what's in the water. Third of all, terminal velocity doesn't exist in my world. 10 feet of falling means you take a d6 damage. Metal armor, arms, yeah, metal shields, warhammer. Hey, you want to see a dwarf sink? Yeah, and so yeah, that is what your boat appears like. You guys can move yourself around if you have a preferred spot on the deck, but like I said, that is the description of your ship. You load up. I'll say you have the food. You're provided the food. Like, it's not a meaningful amount of money to just kind of stock up supplies. You stock up supplies. As I said already, the ship comes with an unlimited supply of standard cannonballs, and it comes with 3 uses of wood, basically, to do at-sea repairs. That's what it defaults at. And then you are told that you may leave port at any time. Seek is willing to depart whenever. It is currently around 7:30-ish in the morning, so it is still dawn. It is a military vessel, though it is considerably out of date. Like, it's not as big as you think of like of the ones you're looking around at. It's not as big, and it's certainly not as new. Oh, sure, yeah. If you want to like paint the sides, or if you want to like take the sail down and paint like a merchant logo instead of like it just being a regular white sail, like, you guys can do that. I will say it would be, if anyone has a disguise kit, it would be a disguise kit roll. If you don't have a disguise kit, it'll be just for how it would be how convincing you can make it. So it would just be a wisdom check. So like a d20 plus your wisdom modifier. No, there's no charisma involved in this. Yeah. I will say, if you guys want to buy, honestly, the military will give you 5 spare hand axes. Just bring them back. Yeah, so they give you 25 gold pieces worth of hand axes. If you don't return with them, you owe them that much money. Okay, so you guys have all that. Is there any last minute stuff you want to buy? I know that you've already bought all the stuff. I mean, Calyx, you texted me. Ivy is wearing the leather armor and the short bow, and she's wearing the short bow you bought her. Like, she's all set up. Charles has 2 darts that he isn't proficient with, but he's holding them. If you'll remember, I said that Charles is proficient in nothing except cobbler's tools. No, he can use simple weapons. He is not proficient. Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it certainly is. Well, does anyone have? Yeah. If you have proficiency in a disguise kit, it would be a roll of the disguise kit. If you don't, then it's just a d20 plus your wisdom modifier. Well, yeah, the wizard's primary stat is intelligence, so it would be either a druid or a cleric. That'll do it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So d20 for you would be d20 plus 2. And I will say, success or fail, it will take approximately an hour to do the entire ship. Do you have proficiency in disguise kits? Sure. Even though guidance only lasts a minute and this takes an hour to do, I'll allow it. Well, according to Hunter's Guide rules, it's not allowed, actually. Yeah, roll the d4. A 12. With a 12, I mean, it's above average. From a distance, it definitely doesn't look as much like a military vessel. Like, you could definitely still tell there's, like, with how wide it is and the structure of it, you could tell it's definitely more robust than a typical merchant vessel. But albeit hastily repainted, the colors are less intimidating, and the sail is definitely, you would have to really stare at it to see what the sail used to be, but now it definitely looks like a more generic sail. Do you have any particular decal in mind for that you want to make it look like, to make it like, do you guys have a fake merchant decal that you want to use? That would be funny. You could do that. I like it. Yeah, so yeah, you want Ataraxia paints a giant red herring on the sail. The railings are painted red as well, and on the side, she writes in not sloppy handwriting, but definitely quick handwriting. It's just on the port side of the ship. It just says in big letters. It just says the Red Herring Shipping Co. Yeah. You think from a distance, it is relatively convincing. Though if someone intelligent were really picking it apart, there's a chance they could pick it apart. Is there anything else you guys want to do at port, or do you want to take to the seas? It is now 8:30 in the morning. You know that it takes a minimum of 4 hours to get to the area where the general area where the attacks happen. Assuming no delays, no bad weather. You can choose to load the cannons. You could choose to load the cannons at port. There's no downside to keeping them loaded. Yeah. All the gunners can preload their cannons. You did not buy a telescope.
Up to this point, the party basically just said they wanted to buy a bunch of equipment for their 2 meat shields, allies, that they rescued from the prisons, and they took some time to disguise the ship they're on as a merchant vessel. After a mediocre roll, it is mildly disguised, and they have taken the time to name it the Red Herring, the merchant vessel. After that, they then discuss their plan going forward and leave the port.
It's about 4 hours to the north, like following the coast north, but still keeping the coast like in view. So not like a million miles out to sea. You're kind of hugging the coast from 6 to 8, maybe 10 miles away. Enough that on a clear day you could still see landmarks, so that you're not completely at the mercy of the stars. Yeah, because you could also be like, if you guys get lost, right? You guys could be like, how do we get back to where we're trying to go? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you are now departing from the thing. You now need to begin your journey. And the journey will take a minimum of 4 hours. Over the course of the 4 hours, you eventually leave port. After about 30 minutes, you can see King's Spear in the distance, but it is far away. And you enter in what you could tell is the significantly deeper water. You're out of the protection of the coastline, of the coves, and of the natural barriers and landscape features of the coast. And that's when Seek walks up to Calyx, who is the captain, and he goes, "Aye, Captain, where's the offering?" That you purchased? Yeah, you have isn't that a bottle? Okay, we're putting it together in a pile. We got 1 bottle of decent rum, a bottle of bottom shelf whiskey. Anything else? Seek looks at you scared, seeing the offering. No, if you'll remember when you talk to the priest of Umberley, typically it's a case minimum. No, I'm telling you. He'll look at you. He'll go, "It's too late. We're already on the ocean. It's now or never, Captain. She's seen us. We've entered her territory. She's waiting." So you're good. Okay, Calyx, you may go onto the bow of the ship, and you may make a religion check as the captain to attempt to barter the fate of the ship. No, this is a mental set. This is how good he can pray. Guidance cannot help him here. Calyx, you're gonna need to roll pretty well, and basically, it's the way you just described it. You're basically saying "Hey, we'll give you what we got now, and everything the pirates have, or if they have nothing, we will give you triple next time." Basically, that's the promise. You're okay. Okay, then. Okay, roll a religion check. Yeah, yeah, it is. 17 is not bad. Okay, so that would be 70%. Okay, so and then are you dumping the bottle and a half that you have, or are you just saying okay? So a bottle and a half plus a 17. We fucked up, Captain. Please, can we borrow 3 cases of beer? We forgot. I'll allow it. If you send the paper bird, I'll allow it. Okay. So are you going to send it? Are you going to send it to Moonglow and be like, "We'll pay you when we get back. This is Bronte's. Please give us 3 cases of beer." Or are you going to be like, "Mr. Warden of the whole city, can you please requisition us 3 cases of beer?" Unfortunately, that would go against the promise you made in your religion check. So I would suggest not breaking the prayer immediately. Yes. And I will say, with a 17, I will say, Calyx, you get a feeling as you're standing on the bow of the ship. Despite the fact that the ship isn't moving that fast, somehow the ocean almost magically kicks up around the front of the ship, and there's like a salty sea spray that sprays into you, but not in a violent way. It's almost like a caressing way. But you notice it caresses your throat in a weird way. But then it all kind of drips down and evaporates off the deck of the ship. You get the feeling she's heard you, but you should probably follow through. Yeah. In fact, Kazric, you notice in the spotter tower, it's weird. It was a beautiful day. After about 30 minutes, you notice the sky started to get kind of dark. And when Seek was talking to Calyx, and as soon as Calyx went up to the bow of the ship, the clouds have almost magically dissipated that dark gray color and have kind of broken back down into like spotty white clouds. No, you know nothing about the sea god, but you're like, that's weird. Your first interaction with Umberlee would have been Onyx's funeral. So yeah, anyone would mark one off. I don't. It's fine. And then I'll say you don't need to actually craft a 25-word message. I'll say you're intelligent enough in this moment to be like, hey, pretty please, 3 cases of beer, dockside, ready when we get back, please. Yeah. Okay, so then you're good. And then and you said you're sending it to the Sept, or you're sending it to Moonglow. And then I assume you're addressing it from Bronte's so that you can get the discount. Perfect. Okay. Well, a case would be 12, and a bottle of bottom shelf is a silver. So 10 silver to a gold. So maybe without Bronte's discount, 5 gold of 3 cases of bottom shelf. I'll say, top shelf would be a gold per bottle. So that's like the super expensive, like that's like your Goldschlager, like expensive to a full liquor. So that would be 36 gold before the discount. You paying it forward? Yeah. Well, yeah. Unfortunately, the paper bird cannot hold 36 gold, but I'll say I will trust you guys to withhold 36 gold that you have or that you find on this journey, and I will say that 36 gold, I'll say magically, as soon as you pick up the liquor from the dock, the gold will evaporate from your inventory as though you paid it, so that you don't have to walk all the way to Moonglow and then pay it. It'd be 12 gold each. Nice. Hey, you're fighting pirates, so they probably got money. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then with that religion check, you feel as though it has all worked out for you somehow. Very, very luckily. Yeah. You should have read it better. That or just remembered what the priest said to you point blank to your face 2 sessions ago. He visibly wipes sweat off of his brow. He's like, aye, Captain. He's a little shaky holding the wheel, but yeah, sure. Yeah. Literally immediately after leaving port, the crew and the party realized that they forgot to purchase an offering to the sea god Umberlee, something that they were very explicitly told to do by the priest of Umberlee like 2 sessions ago. After leaving port and not having that offering, Calyx very quickly attempted a prayer to appease the sea god in promise for future rewards. This ultimately was successful, and a massive celestial bullet was dodged. I will also say, as the ocean kind of like, it rippled just a bit for the stuff with Calyx's prayer, I'll say, Sai, you also feel kind of weird. You know that inherently, for reasons you don't quite understand, you've always loved the sea. Always. And one of the things that drew you to it was the sense of freedom, the sense of how boundless it is. And as a result of that, one of the things that you always hated was pirates, because they antithesize what the sea stands for. They take that freedom and then they take it from others. They take that freedom and then they take for themselves and don't share. They kill senselessly and they break the rules of the sea that people who risk their lives to navigate have almost an unspoken code about. And this always irritated you. And as you're kind of thinking about this and you're dwelling on this, you kind of feel your orb begin to vibrate. And it's giving off this faint blue glow. And as it gives off this faint blue glow, you look deep into it like you're pondering it. And you just see the two eyes that you remember seeing from the lightning-colored silhouette from the very first time that you awoken from the orb. And those eyes look at you, and though you don't hear language, you understand language in your mind. And it simply says to you, "You have lost much, and I can tell you seek power. There is not power I can grant you that you can handle. But would you like power that you can grant yourself?" Okay. You say you would, and then you kind of look deeper into it, and everybody will see from the glow of the orb, it begins to create a shadow. Like it's creating light at this point, and it's causing Sai's shadow to basically be cast further because she's holding a light source basically. And then as she does that, you watch as the shadow grows longer and longer and longer and then you watch as an arm comes out of it. And then a second arm comes out of it. And you watch as the shadow almost begins, it looks like the shadow's going to pull itself off the deck, but the shadow never moves. And you just see these two pale blue arms, almost fetid blue, like they've been rotting. And slowly a creature pulls itself out of the shadow. Sai, you turn around and you see a creature that looks remarkably like you, but not quite right. It looks like they're a version of you where not everything went maybe the way you thought it would. And they look at you and they say nothing, but with these black, soulless eyes, no pupil, no eyeball, just two vacant cavities with black ichor pouring down them like tears. They simply extend a hand. Okay. As soon as you grab the hand, you watch as the second hand comes around lightning quick, and it grabs the orb, and you watch as the light of the orb flashes immensely, and it creates all the shadows on the entire ship to basically go extremely long. It's this almost near blinding flash, and then once the flash dissipates, the creature is gone, your shadow is back to normal, and you're all standing there, and you're watching as Sai, where she was once holding her orb, she is now holding a longsword made entirely of lightning, with the center piece of the guard being a smaller version of that orb. And to Sai, it appears completely weightless, as though you're holding the orb like normal, but you all see a very, very scary lightning longsword. Sai, your pact is fulfilled. You've never wielded a sword, and yet you feel as though you could wield this sword effortlessly. As though you've been training with it your entire life. Yeah. It's a very big, shocking grasp. Yeah. Calyx jumps off the boat. Well, the sail is in the middle of the ship, so the sail is where Kazric is standing. She did not. She did not get a sword sheath. Do you will for the sword to be sheathed? You watch as the blade and handle and guard of the sword shrink down into the orb, and the orb grows back to its normal size. You feel as though you can take an item interaction to quote-unquote draw your pact weapon. Oh, you all saw it. You all saw it. It was a physical thing that happened. Seek is refusing to acknowledge it, but it was right there. As the journey in the sea progresses, Sai is visited by a creature none had ever seen before. One that pulls themselves out of her very shadow and begins to communicate with her. In doing so, Sai is ultimately posed with the question of, does she want power? To which she responds yes, and this creature forms a deal with Sai, fulfilling Sai's requirements for her multi-class into 1 level of Warlock, and she gains her Hexblade. The party is perturbed by this, and as such, they have a lengthy debate over what it is they just saw, what deal Sai just made, the implications of all these things, and how that will affect the journey in the future. A very detailed drama that unfortunately you cannot hear, but trust me, it was like super cool and super in character, and it was like really awesome.
Yeah, let's look on the bright side. Sai, please tell me what the bright side is.
That is technically true.
Yeah. Oh, Sai, for the record, you can put on your sheet somewhere. Your patron is the Grave Caller.
The Grave Caller?
Yeah. Patrons don't like to give out shit for free. You know their name, and you have level 1 abilities.
It would I mean, you haven't checked, but probably.
Anywhere in your notes or anywhere that, just so that you remember it. If ever your name of your patron comes up, their name is the Grave Caller. That is their title.
And it looked an awful lot like you, but a you who's seen some shit.
Imagine that. Worse. As indicated by the lack of eyeballs and black Icarus tears pouring out of their skull. Their fetid blue skin that looked like it's been rotting. The fact that they pulled themselves out of a shadow. Sai's had rough days. None that bad. Not yet.
Oh, you're only level 6, man. You got 14 more levels.
It's certainly iffy in universe.
This has been Kazric. This has been the craziest 45 minutes of your life. You're like, oh my god, a god is gonna... You're like, oh boy, my first sea adventure. A god is going to smite us. Oh, it's okay, the orc handled it. What the fuck did the tiefling just do? Soul weapons? Pile of corpses? What?
Yeah, just fucking lightning sword.
Seek will look at you. Seek will look at you very intimidated. He'll be like, "Oh, she makes a good point, Captain." Seek goes, and we're driving, and he spins the wheel. And I will say, as this conversation continues, Seek has been navigating successfully. You are now several hours away from Kingspear, and as this conversation is continuing, you do get interrupted as you hit a notably rougher patch of sea. And Seek will say, "Okay, boys, this is it. This is the time. This is..." He ignores that. "Okay, boys, this is the time. This is the point of the journey where it's the most difficult. Everyone get to your stations and be prepared. We need to navigate this ship through these waters. It's too small to pass easily. We're going to have to make it pass." And at this point, we will begin the skill challenge to successfully navigate the rough waters along the coast. The way this skill challenge will work: everyone on the boat can attempt to do something. There is no limit to how many attempts you can make, but one person cannot make a second attempt until everyone has gone once. You need 3 successes to complete the skill challenge and successfully navigate your way to the area where the pirates are attacking ships. Absolutely, if you want to attempt to physically maneuver the sails by grabbing ropes in each hand and pivoting them and turning them and hoisting them and bringing them up and down to turn to that, absolutely, that would be an athletics check. I will say it's going to give you a flat modifier of a +3, because it's not about how much it is to push, it's about knowing when and how to yank, and then just being strong enough to yank. I will say give you a little bit of a bonus, but it wouldn't be advantage. 24. You watch as Calyx expertlessly, just zips all over. He's yanking every rope. He's pulling every jibe. He spins shit. He pulls the sheets down and then immediately throws them up for some reason. And you're like, I don't know what he's doing, but the boat is flying forward. And you're like, whatever he did, it's clearly the right thing to do. And you feel that is a very significant success. Yeah, so if you would like to work with Seek, and if you would like to do a navigation check, you're going to attempt to use your survival abilities to look at the sea, the wind, the sky, the sun, the angle of the sun, like every instrument the boat has, to attempt to kind of find gaps in the waves and find gaps in the wind, and use like the natural structure of reefs where the water's a little shallower, where the waves break a little easier, to try to plot a course that's a little easier to navigate. You can do a survival check. Unfortunately, she rolled before you finished talking. But a 20 is very good. So with the 20, Adder actually is able to successfully. She's looking at maps. She's looking at the ocean. She's using Druidcraft to kind of sense the weather and the direction of the wind. And she works with Seek, and Seek, with her help, is able to kind of navigate. It seems kind of zigzaggy at first, but then you notice that he's kind of doing it in time with Calyx and how he moves the sails, and you guys are absolutely propelling forward at a very good rate, and the ship seems in a very good situation. That is 2 successes. Yeah. The DC varies based on how good the case is. So if you would like to try to persuasion check the weather, probably going to be a lot harder than something physical to do with the ship. But it's technically tryable. I will say you can hold your action, because as you guys have not failed, the ship has not failed any of your attempts. The ship has not sustained any damage, but what I will say is you can reserve your attempt. If the ship were to fail and take damage, you can immediately try to offset the failure by taking a relevant check at that time to undo the damage the failure did to get rid of that failure. Yeah, and so basically you're going to be on the lookout for like submerged rocks, shallow reefs, like stuff that could damage the vessel or that would throw off the charting that they probably wouldn't see from down there. Okay, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. In that case it would be a perception check. And within 18, you are able to spot a series of submerged reefs and like underwater rocks that you think at their angle they wouldn't have seen. And through your communication, you are actually able to prevent the ship from running aground in certain areas or damaging itself on certain rocks. There are moments where you think like Cole, you hear like the faintest sound of like just a little bit of the rock touching the outside of the hull. But because Seek is in communication with Ataraxia and Kazaric, he's able to spin the wheel at enough time that it never actually punctures the wood or does any meaningful damage, just cosmetic. You get nervous at first, ready to repair what needs to be repaired, but ultimately no damage comes. And somehow you have succeeded 3 times immediately and completely bypassed the entire skill check. Okay, I'll get rid of that. Okay, I'll get rid of that entire part of my notes. It wasn't relevant at all. Okay, you have successfully made it to the correct area of the ocean very quickly without incident. It's like 1 a.m. It's like 1 p.m. already, and you're like, oh damn, we're here. That's crazy. We feel like that might have taken longer. Zeke is noticeably impressed, and he's like, you guys have never been on a boat before, right? He looks at you. Okay. That's actually crazy. And he's like, I'm not gonna look this gift horse in the mouth though. And he's just like iron gripping the steering wheel. He's waiting for like the other shoe to drop. He's like, no trip goes this good on the sea. The sea is too unpredictable. So he's like, everything's going really well. I can't wait for that to stop, because he knows it's coming, because that's how boats go.
After Sai mitigates a lot of the party's concerns about what it is she's actually done, and eventually changes the subject, it becomes time for the ship to navigate a particularly treacherous section of water. This is where a skill challenge began, and each player got the option to decide something they could do to make the ship pass. They then somehow instantly succeeded every single roll, their first 3 rolls, instantly passed the skill challenge, and literally nothing bad happened at all, completely ruining about a page or so of notes in my book. But hey, it was a really cool cinematic moment, and they basically effortlessly showed up to the area where they know the pirates are hiding.
I was just told we're fighting pirates. Yeah, to be more specific, I was told you're fighting pirates. I'm driving a boat. Yeah, and he goes, as you're talking, you will notice, Kazric, you'll notice, at first it's very, very faint, and you think it might just be the sunlight hitting the water, because it's like midday, a little past midday. Eventually you notice the entire area around you, a light fog has seemingly worked its way in from all directions. Not so much that it obfuscates your ability to see, but there is a noticeable fog that's like blocking your ability to see like the horizon. You can no longer see the shore, and anything past 1,000 or so feet is very difficult to see, even from your spotter position. Yeah, you're in. 1,000 feet. Like the fog is on the ship. Like it has kind of worked its way in, but it's so thin that it doesn't actually obscure your vision meaningfully until after you look through about 1,000 feet of fog. Like it's a very, very light fog. Yes, it would be everything past 1,000 feet would be lightly obscured. I would say anything past 1,500 would just be heavily obscured. Like at 1,500 feet, it's just, that's at the point where you're just looking at a wall of fog, but that's very, very far. Okay, is everyone manning their stations? Yeah, we can say the cannons are they're anywhere on the starboard side. They just can't be moved to the port side, and vice versa. That they're fixed. Okay, at this point in the fog, you may begin attempting to search for the pirates. That would be if you would like to just straight up look for them. It's a perception check by the spotter to attempt to find the pirates. If they are in the area around you. No, you're not. The captain's orders only apply to combat. That's like for initiative. So you're gonna be like for the next hour, like it's gonna take about an hour of just like sailing around slowly and safely because you're in fog, looking for evidence of another vessel or evidence on shore. Because for a camp, like to see if you can find them, or if anyone else would like to do something instead of that perception check to attempt to find the pirates, and would like to describe it and be creative about it, I will treat it like an extension of the skill challenge to attempt to do that instead. So if you had a spell that could somehow locate pirates or something like that, I would allow it. If there's no one who has anything else, then I would need a perception check from Kazric. Yeah, Seek is skilled enough that he keeps you relatively stable and relatively steady. Like, it looks like he's not going to run you aground anytime soon. And then with your guys' help and your passive perceptions, everything, you keep on a pretty safe path. You're not really worried about slamming into a rock or a reef. You're kind of watching out. Yeah. Yeah, and all that. And then Kazric is also like, yeah, he's looking for pirates, but he's also looking at other stuff. Like, he's looking at the coastline when you get close enough. He's looking for that as well. Kazric with a 9... which is half of 18, by the way. You do not see anything. This fog, from your position, it seems to almost get thicker somehow. You don't think it is, but from your perspective, maybe it's just the angle. Maybe it's because of the way the sun is hitting it, as it's now almost 2 o'clock. Maybe it's because it's hitting it at an angle. The glare is kind of blowing your vision out. And you kind of just look. And you look, and after an hour, you don't see anything. Click it and I'll read it and I'll tell you if it's applicable, because I think I know what spell you're talking about. Okay, in that case, it is now 2 o'clock. An hour has passed. Kazric, you were unable to see anything, but seems nothing has seen you. Would you like to attempt another perception check for the next hour, or does anyone want to try to do anything else? Yeah, do a charisma check. Yeah. It is definitely fog. 100%. Like you kind of breathe in and you feel the moisture hit your tongue. You're like, yep, fog, and not salty, which would imply it's fog. It's not salty. Yeah, because it's fog. Salt would fall out of the fog. Yeah. If you ask Seek, he will say this area is notorious for having fog, but it has been more frequent as of late, but not like significantly. It's just one of those things of being on the ocean. Sometimes there's fog. Checks intelligence of 8. The weather. Yeah, I'm a seafaring man too. That doesn't mean I understand oceanography inherently or environmental science. I had to go to college for that. Oh, I mean, he'll say, because at this point you're kind of getting close to the border with the north. He'll say, oh, well, legend says it's the cold, frigid air of the north hits the warm temperate air of the Empire, and so on the border you get frequent outbursts of fog because the two temperatures mix and they either create fog or they create thunderstorms. I will also take the fog, says Seek. Seek also looks at you and he goes, I get the feeling that if your religion check hadn't been that good, the percentage chance of fog might have increased, or of thunderstorms might have increased significantly. Imagine that. Yeah. Well then, yeah. If no one has anything else, then Kazric, if you would like to make your perception check. Okay, with a 20. Kazric, you are at this. You almost feel embarrassed. You're like, damn, I'm the spotter. It really was my job to like spot, and I didn't find anything. You're like, I'm losing light. It's already 3 o'clock. The sun is kind of working its way down. You're like, the fog has not gotten thicker, but it's also not gotten lighter. You're like, okay, let me kind of lock in. Like, we gotta lock these dwarven eyes in and really, really stare. And just barely, from the corner of your eye, in the depths of the fog, right where it gets so obscured you can't see, you swear you see like a little flash of black. And you kind of turn your head really quickly, and you see all the way at the very end of your vision, you see a boat, ever so slow like a crawl, just slowly turning in place, slowly putting its broadside towards you. Oh, it's like 1,500, maybe more. You're just barely seeing it. It is at the furthest possible range you think a cannon could hit under the best circumstances. And it is slowly turning its broadside towards you. Okay. And as he calls that out, you enter ship combat. There's just enough fog, and Kazric rolled high enough that through the fog, you see 3 notable rocky structures. The 3 notable rocky structures appear to be rocks. I would avoid not running into those. And then with Kazric's eyes, he has seen, despite the fact that it is a little further than you think he might have been able to see, he able to strain his eyes ever so expertly through the fog that he is able to see a ship. That ship, of course, is I'll say they are still moving and you're still moving. At the point in which you guys have enabled yourself into combat, they are approximately 1,200 feet away from you. And they are, technically speaking, they're turned like this. But, irrelevant. And then you see them. You don't know that they see you, but you assume they see you because it looks like they're kind of scoring up for a fire. And with that perception check of 20, you avoid the surprise round of taking a full broadside from the pirates. Wow, well, they were hidden by the fog. They are now no longer hidden by the fog because Kazric has rolled very good on his perception. At this point, we enter ship combat. To enter ship combat, I have explained to you all about caption actions and crew actions. A picture on screen of the rules. There you go. And then I will now need the captain of the boat to please roll a d20. That d20 will be your initiative.
After successfully navigating the harsh weather and waves, the Kazric, after a few attempts, ultimately is able to spot the incoming pirate attack prior to them getting a surprise round on the party. This results in ship versus ship combat, which doesn't exist in D&D, so I made rules and put them on screen if you'd like to read them. And then after that, the party begins ship over combat. Ship over combat is going to get weird here because you can't hear them explain what they're doing, so I'll try my best.
No, the ship does not have a dexterity. You're rolling for the boat. Okay, they rolled a 4. So they do not have advantage and they do not automatically get a turn because they were seen. So you start this pseudo initiative. It is Calyx. It is your captain's go. They are 1,200 feet away from you. You have your options. You have 2 captain's actions. Crew. You have 1 crew action that you can use once he takes his 2. What do you do? Yes, you are pointed straight at them and they are broadside at you. So your cannons are currently not facing them. Yes. I have also scaled the map so that every square is 50 feet, so everything should be about accurate for sake of your measuring tool. Except for the fact that your movement is measured not in feet but in squares, so keep that in mind. That's allowed. You can functionally you can do captain's action move, but obviously you couldn't fire or do anything else. Yeah, you are currently at an angle. No, because it's ocean, so like you can move at your current trajectory the same way you could move like up, down, left, or right. It's if you go to change trajectory that you need to make a piloting check. No, it doesn't cost double movement because water is what yeah. Because you're functionally just continuing your straight line functionally. Yeah. The same way that I'm not calculating the technical direction the wind is coming from, because technically that would affect how fast you're going also. I cut a lot of stuff out from real life. Yeah, and also cannons can shoot more than 1,500 feet, and also cannonball damage, I changed it. Like, there's a lot of stuff I just was like, this seems like it would work. Yeah. But let's be fair, you're only going to do this like once, maybe twice, so I feel like I didn't need to go crazy, and I feel like this is a very good middle ground for coming up with ship combat out of my ass. But yeah, Calyx, it is your turn. What would you like to do as captain? No, you declare the change direction and then you roll for it. If you don't hit the number, then the change direction fails and the action is wasted. No, he was barely able to make out the image of a ship, let alone something that detailed. You're able to tell that the ship is bigger than yours by about one size category, but that's as much as you can get with the 20. 20 was the DC to see them. You'd need more than that to see detail. Yes. Yeah, it was. I believe for you it would be a D20 plus charisma. So for you it would just be a charisma check. The DC, of course, being 13. Actually, absolutely successful. You can successfully change your direction. Which direction would you like to change to? So, okay. Yep. The boat now turns to the north. And you may now, if you like to take your movement, you'll be moving north. So now, for that is the two captain actions. You do have a crew action. What is the crew action? Or do you choose not to do one at all? Yeah. So if you wanted to, for instance, hypothetically, just to make it more easier to understand, if you wanted to be like, I would like to do another spotting check, this time to see more detail of the ship, right? And maybe see what kind of cannons they have, see how much crew is on deck, see how big the ship is compared to ours, like with a number of feet or size category. Like, you could do that. Navigation, you could be like, okay, I want to do, Addie could do a nature check on the rocks to see if there's hostile wildlife that maybe she could do something, like if you got close to it, she could convince it to help you. Like, this is where you get creative, basically. Okay, so are we doing the spotting check then? Yes, they are like 1,200 feet away, yeah, or 1,100. Yeah. So in that case, as your correction, Keswick, you may make a perception check. It is still difficult because of the fog. 15, you are not able to gain any additional meaningful information other than the fact that you can confirm that the ship is one size category bigger than the ship you are in. So it is more than likely slightly faster, and more than likely has at least one more gun per side than your boat, and can probably hold more cargo and more crew. Oh yeah, 100%. They were like moments away from firing on you. It was because you saw it and started moving that you have a chance to not get obliterated. Yeah. They were making a very aggressive action. In that case, yeah, that is your movement. That is your two captains action, crew action, and they will take theirs. They had readied. They are unable to know that you've seen them because you moved very little. So they are going to do their pre-plan, which is a full broadside. So at disadvantage because of evasion. You watch as like boom, 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 boom. You see 4 flashes, right? And you watch as 4 flashes fly in, and you see these dark shapes cut through the fog. The evasive nature of the ship kind of depletes the ability for some of it to be hit, and you watch as one of them flies wide, but the other 3 absolutely obliterate you guys. Your ship was not ready for it. Even they were lining up on you, and they were ready for it. Captain, please mark off I know. Well, you should have access to the little green bar on the token. Yeah. So you can. So that 13 misses. You have an AC of 14 with your boat. So you take 58 plus 18, 78 minus 2. You take 76 damage. Yes. That was their one action. They are going to captain action reload. So they have reloaded their guns. And then they will use their third. And then they will attempt the captaining check. And they get a 23. So they are able to turn. Though they are not able to move. You have advantage to attack them. But you have disadvantage because of your range. So you're a straight roll to hit them. Yes. They are now going to... They have a crew action. Crew action. You watch as the fog gets slightly thicker in a bubble around the ship. They are now... The ship itself is now noticeably more obscured and harder to hit. They have a +2 to their AC. They get 3 captains. They're a bigger boat. They get 3 captains' actions and a crew action. You could also argue their captain is far more competent, given the circumstance. Okay, Calyx, the initiative turns back to you.
The first round of ship combat shows our party taking an intentionally short move in order to give themselves and their ship evasion to minimize the damage of the offensive capabilities of the pirates. The pirates, however, having already lined up their shot, fire a full broadside of cannonballs. These cannonballs, while one does miss due to the evasive nature of the boat, do put massive holes and massive damage into the party's vessel, dealing over half the vessel's health in damage. After which the pirates reposition and we begin our second round of combat, with the party now very nervous about the future.
Okay, so because you're ordering it as the captain, you can designate who performs it. Who are you performing to do the carpenter's check? It's wisdom. To get a specific skill, you have to be proficient. Because basically, if you get a proficient skill, it's like you had the tool proficiency, but none of you have the tool proficiency. Yeah, Addie, if you would like to try, you can do it. It is I believe I said it was a DC 15. Yeah, it would be a wisdom check. Yeah, if you don't have carpenter's tool proficiency, or if you don't have... I would argue, if you have a spell that says it magically fixes boats, I would let you cast it in place of it and auto-succeed. Mend takes a minute, and also it does minor cosmetic damage. It does not put boards back in place. No. With a 7, unfortunately, you are not able to do as much significant repairing as possible. You can roll 3d12, take half, but you still expend 1 full use of the wood, as some of the wood is wasted in your hasty repairs. So you get 7. Oh, no, round it up. So, because it's healing, technically. So you gain 8 health. Okay, crew action. There is no rule saying you can't double dip, by the way. So if you wanted to use your crew action to repair again, that's allowed. But remember, you only have the 3 wood. So, well, I'm 3 total wood, so you have 2 left. You can no, you cannot. You can choose a reload, but firing is a captain action. No, so major decisions are made by the captain. Minor decisions are made by the crew. You decide how you move, when you move, what you do. The big things, they pick up the slack. So big things like obliterate the enemy is a captain move. So you basically just want to flip it and say that the crew action was that check Addie just did, and then your other captain's action would have been okay. I'll say because this is a new rule system, I'm fine with it this one time. So because that sounds like that rule. Yeah, it seems like you're playing. I don't mind playing by intention. It seems like that's what your intention was. It just wasn't communicated properly, based on the new rule system. So I will say, if you wanted to order a broadside with your captain action, and then the crew action would have been repair, that's fine. This would be your starboard cannons, which would be what was that? Coal and ivy. Starboard is right. Yes. Okay? So in that case, Brontes, please make your shooter check. So that would be a 1d20 plus your wisdom plus your dex. And then I will roll for Ivy. Yeah, reload is a crew action. Or the captain can order reload and reload all the guns at once. Technically, you guys, I mean, you guys are new. You guys are new to cannons, right? Like, you just, you had to shake the rust off. You're like, I've never fired a cannon before, ever in my life. I tried my best. Not as great as it would be, but next time for sure. No, you got this. And then and then since we're saying that after that, now the crew action would have been Addy, so that is used up. So that is the end of your turn. On the pirates' turn, their first action, because they used at the end of their turn, was to change directions. So they can now move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then they are going to... No, they don't. They are going to double dash. So second captain action, 1, 2, 3, 4. Third captain action, they are going to make the check again. This will be the attempt at changing direction. They succeed, and they once again broadside you. They can't fire. You watch as they moved, that fog that was hanging around the deck dissipates, like they don't have that anymore. And then instead, you see 2 of the cannons. You see people kind of scrambling around them, and they're doing some sort of chicanery as their crew action, but it's difficult to see. And that is their turn. Some sort of chicanery with the cannons. Well, you know. Yeah, and that is the end of their turn. Calyx, you once again have 2 captain's actions, and Calyx's crew, you have 1 crew action.
In the second round of ship combat, we see our party desperately attempting to fix some of the holes put into the boat, unfortunately failing to do so and only dealing a minimum amount of damage, as well as taking a few pot shots with the cannons at the enemy vessel, but due to the enemy vessel's raised defenses and their minimal experience with cannons, both miss, unfortunately. We also see the pirates very quickly close the distance and perform some sort of chicanery with their weapons to modify them in the future of the combat.
Yeah, the range of darkness is unfortunately not good enough. They're like 800 feet away or 600 feet, something like that. I would also say your ship is significantly bigger than a 20-foot ball, so they would just aim for the parts of the ship that aren't in the darkness. It would only give disadvantage to you, basically. Unless you got close enough that you cast it onto the deck of their ship, and then attach it to the deck, attach it to a cannon, then anyone using the cannon would permanently be in darkness, and they would have disadvantage. Absolutely, because you can put it on an object. Now, you don't know, you have no control over where on the ship the cannonball will land, but depending on where it lands, I'll roll for it, it would obfuscate whatever ability that it is blocking. So if it's blocking a cannon, that cannon will have permanent disadvantage. If it's blocking the spotter tower, yeah, that would be her crew action to choose to cast a spell. The spell would be darkness. Which in this case, I will say in this case, if you wanted to use your crew action to do that before the captain action, and then if you wanted to captain action reload to fire that darkness ball all on one turn, that is fine. You could, I mean, if your ship is not 50 feet wide, so if you turn towards them in Windwalled, it would block the entire ship. But as I said, it more than likely would not affect a standard cannonball. Yeah. That being said, I mean, obviously, once you get within a longbow is 480 feet. You're only 100 feet away from being longbowed. So, like, it would, if next turn you wanted to do that, when you're in longbow distance, it would basically turn off the ability to be hit by arrows, if they had longbows. You don't know. No, you're right. Yeah, they would need to make the steering check again to turn their broadside. Just to clarify that plan. Yeah, just to clarify the plan, currently you cannot double dash because you're currently pointed directly north. So it would be a steering check to turn northeast, then the other action to move 250, so 5 squares. You could not do 10 squares this turn unless you go straight north. I will say, for sake of the effect, I will say it will be out of the broadside. Well, one of their cannons could hit you, but it wouldn't be a broadside. They would still more than likely have to turn to meaningfully attack you.
Yes, you could do that, and then next turn, and then move 5 more. And you would be within like 200 feet of them. Yeah, you could also do that, or you could do the darkness cannonball strat. Like, you'd be close enough to do a lot of that stuff because you'd be within regular cannon range, so you guys wouldn't be at disadvantage against each other. If you did full the movement you're showing right now, where you're 450 to 500 straight north, they would not only need to do a check to hit you, you would have 3/4 cover from their broadside, so you'd get a +5 to your AC. And that's without them moving. Yeah, so they would need to move successfully. Then if they couldn't move, like, depending on their angle, depending on how much movement they have, they would probably need to use 2 movements to get rid of your cover completely. 1 movement might drop it to half cover, but either way, you will more than likely end the turn with cover against their broadside, if that is your objective. Because half cover would bring your ship's AC up to 16, full cover would bring it up to 19. I'm sorry, 3/4 would bring it up to 19. And based on distance, based on your assumption of their assuming they had standard cannons, they would have disadvantage because you're further than 500 feet. I'll allow one square's worth of deviation just because we're playing with circle tokens on a square grid, but like actually changing direction has to be the change check. Yeah. I'll say because that only deviates over the course of like 1 row of squares over the course of a double dash. Like, I'll say that's just the natural pushing of the water, like in the wind. Ships don't go perfectly straight. Yeah. They can, but remember, if the crew chooses to reload, the crew does a thing. So they would reload a cannon. Yeah, whereas a captain ordering reload would be all the cannons, all 4 on the ship at once with 1 action. So it's more efficient for a captain to order reload. That's what the pirates did. You still have 2 repairs left. So under normal D&D circumstances, guidance would be considered an action. However, because of the nature and the scale of ship combat, I am very heavily leaning towards the idea that every action is less of 6 seconds and more of like a minute or 2, because of just the nature of how slow ships go. Because obviously the ships aren't actually moving 250 feet per second. That's insane and not physically possible. So it's nuts. So I'm going to say it is fine for cantrips. If it requires a spell slot or equivalent resource, it counts as your crew action. If it's just a cantrip, you could do it infinitely, then I'll say it can be tacked on, quote unquote, for free during the crew action. But don't abuse it. Otherwise, I'll take it away. Natural 20. The D4. You know what? Because it's a natural 20, you're so inspired. Roll 4d12. Calyx, the ship heals 29 hit points. Awesome. And that brings the end to your turn. It is now the pirates. The pirates, their target has moved, annoyingly. So the pirates are going to choose to, as their first captain action, they're going to have to readjust their course. They succeed. I'll be not as good as they've been succeeding. They turn their ship. They're going to use their second captain action to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. They are going to... How far away are you? 400. They are going to... Third captain action. You watch as they only fire 2 cannons. Kazric. You watch as they... Once again, you see two flashes from the mist. But you see multiple dozens of projectiles. As you watch as 2 packs of grape shot have launched, targeted specifically at your sails. This would be a disadvantage because the sail shredder rounds have a different range, and you're out of range. But I will double check, even though I just did it. Yeah, you're out of range for the regular, so you're at far. So that's disadvantage, and you're still getting your half cover because they moved. So your AC is 16, which is +2. So you're at 16 AC on your ship against 2 sail shredder rounds at disadvantage. 1, 2. They only hit once. Your boat takes 10 slashing damage,
and your movement is dropped by 1 until someone takes the repair action and succeeds. This is the same repair action as the one that does the 3d12, so you'd still heal also, and healing would get rid of the movement drop. Yeah, you don't need to specifically repair the sails. Yeah. No, you don't need a separate resource. And then you watch as crew action. No. One of the crew members appears to reload one of the cannons that just fired. Though you don't know with what.
This round of combat shows our party repairing significant damage to their ship and moving themselves into an advantageous position behind a large rock. However, at the same time, the pirates reposition as well, and they unleash a new weapon, sail shredder rounds, which eventually do hit the party and cause significant damage to their sails, permanently reducing their ability to move until they succeed on yet another repair check, which they have already used 2 of their 3, making the decision of when to use it and how very, very important.
Yeah, you can turn. I mean, if you wanted to turn literally 180, you're allowed to do that. Like, turning just means turning the token any way you want. It would be, well, no, it'd be a regular shot because they're within 500. But they would get the same half cover that you benefited from. Yes, so if you pointed downwards, your port would be towards them. The port cannons are still loaded. You're the captain. Yeah, you're the captain. You get to make the final say. You do not turn successfully. What does it say? A 6 is lower than a 13. You attempt to give orders to the helmsman and to everyone at various stations, but your orders are lost on the chaos of battle, and your ship does not turn the way you wish it was. Correct. You are currently pointing forwards. Yeah, it would be the same half cover. So they have, you have half cover against them, they have half cover against you, the way you guys are lined up. It would, but remember, you failed your turning option. You can't turn the direction of your token. So you're currently straight north, you have to move straight north. So now you have a crew action remaining. You could either reload one of the cannons. Yes, but what do you mean by because they did that, right? They, as a crew action, they changed what the cannons are loaded with. So you could change currently you have a standard cannonball in there. If you wanted to do something to the cannonball as a crew action, you could. Yes, everything you just said, yes. But yeah, because I'm letting you basically use crew actions as bonus actions and say that you could use them before actions, because that makes sense. Because obviously you guys are planning out loud. So if you wanted to crew action right now, chicanery a cannonball on the port side. Next turn, crew action again, chicanery the other port side cannonball. First captain action, turn. Second captain action, fire. That's totally legal. Any spells that say that you can cast it on an object are allowed. That's valid. It would double your chances of getting a cannonball on the deck, which would make the cannons basically non-effective, but they would still get a very hard chance. Okay, in that case, so your crew action, Sai is going to cast her Racial Darkness on one of the cannonballs. Okay, so nobody knows that Sai casts darkness on the cannonball, but all of a sudden there's a 20-foot bubble of darkness on the cannonball. Okay, it is now the pirates' turn. Pirates are gonna go 5, 10, 15, 20. They are going to. Then I'm going to move. Okay, second action, they're going to fire. They only have 3 cannons loaded. At this range, they are going to shoot. They have disadvantage because of evasion, but they move farther enough that they don't have. You know what? They'll move one more so that you don't get the half cover. And then it's going to make it way harder for them to turn and get you, but that sucks. So then that's one. Second will be multi-attack. They're going to hit you with, the only thing they have loaded is 2 regular cannonballs, and then they loaded 1 scale shredder as a crew action. So 2 disadvantaged cannonballs. 1, 2, both miss. They both whiff wide, and then a disadvantaged sail shredder hits. So your sails now have a -2, so your movement is dropped to 3, and you take 15 slashing damage to the ship. They are going to attempt to turn with a /R 1d20 plus 5. They fail. They can't turn the ship. So they're stuck. They're stuck with their unloaded cannons pointing at you. And they don't have any captain actions to order reloads. Yes, it does. It will give you 2 shots. Because your port side would then be facing. Currently, your starboard side is facing. Yes. Because remember, left and right are not the same as port and starboard on a boat. So now they fucking can't do what they want. That sucks. They're gonna crew action, and you watch as the fog coalesces again, and they raise their AC by 2 as a crew action. Because that's all they. Yeah. Now it is your turn. You do a charisma check to 180 the ship.
This round of combat, we do see 2 failed attempts at navigating the ship, 1 on each party. Our party tucks in further than they can into the rocks to further protect themselves, and the pirates make an attempt to go for game, ultimately missing with their cannonballs and only doing minor damage to the sails, and then themselves failing their crew check to turn the ship, leaving themselves in a vulnerable position for our party to now take their next action. Not to mention, of course, their increased damage to their sails, furthering neutering their ship's ability to maneuver and move to safety.
Yeah, now it is your turn. You do a charisma check to 180 the ship. Unfortunately, you do not 180 the ship. You can try again. Unfortunately, you desperately attempt to turn the ship around, but your orders are lost on the salty sea spray and sounds of battle. Yes. I'm just going to remind everyone there are players in this party who have inspiration that they haven't used. Yes, you can re-roll you could re-roll a d20. Okay, so Addie, please mark off your inspiration. Calyx, you can re-roll your 6. Yes. Well, because currently you're under the deck, right? Because you just did a repair action. So you're going to have to basically run up the boat to Calyx and then cast a spell. I'll say doing all that would count as a correction. Okay, in that case, Calyx, please roll your charisma check and then add a 1d4. 20. You don't even need the guidance. So you are able to turn the boat 180 degrees. Oh, not true. There you go. Yeah, your 2 loaded cannons are currently pointed at them. You've used your 2 cannon actions. You've used your 2 captain's actions and your crew action. That is now, and because you did not move, you currently have the sitting duck property. They get advantage. Unfortunately, they have no cannonballs pointed at you. So, they have to spend a crew action reloading. A captain's action reloading to reload their cannons. Then they will choose to reload. You know what I'll do? 1 to reload, crew action to make half of those reloads sail shredders, because they want to bring your speed to 0. So then they're going to fire action broadside the ship, 2 cannonballs, 2 sail shredders. The sail shredders are out of range, so they will be at a straight roll because of the sitting duck property. The cannonballs will be at advantage. So 2 advantage cannonballs, 1, 2. They both hit for a total of 47 bludgeoning damage, as 2 massive holes are knocked into the side of your boat. Then 2 normal shot sail shredders, natural 1 and a 19. You watch as one of the cannons on deck explodes, like into shrapnel, and the cannon is completely inoperable. It has self-detonated. They didn't load the powder correctly, and it is gone. It is not repairable for this fight. They now only have 3 cannons on their starboard side, and the second shredder does hit, doing 16 slashing damage and dropping your sails to 2. Perfect. Okay, and then that reload, crew, second action fire. So they're unloaded. So then they're going to attempt the check again, and that check will be to turn again because they failed their turn check last turn, and they succeed. So they will turn their boat, and they are now facing you. They, however, they now have the sitting duck property because they moved. I'm sorry. So they are stuck there, but they do not have the sitting duck property. Captain action to basically you're ramming the ship and then to declare boarding.
Our party, after an unfortunate couple more failed attempts to steer the ship, ultimately remembered that they do have inspiration that they've never used for some reason, and they choose to use it to allow Calyx to re-roll his captain attempt to steer the ship, ultimately leading to a success. I like saying the word ultimately, imagine that. Then, the pirates, seeing that they have barely moved but have changed orientation, opt to use all their actions to continually pepper the ship with a large number of cannonballs and grape shot, reducing the boat to a sliver of health and the sails to fragments of their former selves, leading us into our final round of combat.
You don't have the movement. You're currently at... Yeah. Unless if you crew action repair first and succeed, your movement would go back up to 5. Yes, because the crew action would be the repair. Yes, if you declare a boarding, it's like every pirate movie you've ever seen. You guys throw grappling hooks, you tie the boats together, and then some of your guys jump over there, some of their guys jump over there, and it turns the 2-boat combat into a battle map, and then you will fight as characters on a regular D&D combat. Yeah, you can do the D4 to repairing, yeah, because I said that was allowed before. Yeah. Well, it's for her. Yeah, it's actually, so that means she would have rolled a 4 plus 1. Not what that means. The dice is a 4. I'm sorry. The dice is a 2 plus 2 for 4 plus 1 for 5. Okay, please re-roll, and this time roll a wisdom check instead of a survival. That's it. You're right. 15. Oh, right, Brontes. 15, that is exactly enough. So with the guidance, it automatically takes you over. Please roll 3d12. You heal that much. And your movement will go back up to 5. Okay, so you heal 22. Your movement goes back up to 5. You die instantly. I heard. Yeah. I would also like to remind you, before you take the rest of your actions on your turn, if you look in the Discord, I did put the rules for boarding. It is a captain action to initiate boarding. You don't board automatically if your squares end next to each other. Because if you end next to them and don't have a captain's action to board, they're just going to use a captain's action and board you. And they get advantage on their initiative roll. It does, but Sai can drop it as a free action. So if it's inconvenient to you, you could just get rid of it. Okay, so you're moving 5. Okay, so that's your first captain action. Okay, 2 shot checks. So that would be, I believe it was Cole and what, Sai? So you're rolling a 1d20. You're rolling a 1d20 plus your dex mod plus your wisdom mod. 1d20. Okay, and now, Sai, don't even bother adding anything. 18 hits. I want to say it's 4 for dex and like 1 for wisdom. Yeah, so plus 6. It's not bad. Oh, yeah, the 18 plus extra hits. Okay, so both of those hit. Both of you, please roll me 4d10 bludgeoning damage. So that's 8d10 of damage total. Yeah, unfortunately, that's a little below average. But hey, you hit. And then that's exactly average. That's exactly average. Yeah. Cool. So that is a total. So they will take a total of 38 damage. I'll mark off their health. Minus 38. The health bar did move. And I will now ask Sai, please roll me a 1d6 to see what section, front to back, that darkness cannonball wedges itself. 6, so it's towards the back. I will say, you're right, it's a 5. I saw that 6 from the 1d6, but still, 5, 6, it would be towards the back. So, yeah, the helmsman is going to have disadvantage on his piloting checks, basically. So if they try to change direction or do anything like that, they have disadvantage because they now cannot see what they're ordering their crew to do to change the ship. For as long as you're concentrating on that spell. Yeah. You don't want to drop it immediately and give them like a fighting chance? Darn. To be better. Get a better boat. Yeah. Okay, that was your firing action, crew action, was repair, you moved. So that is all your actions, correct? Cool. You're a nuisance. They're going to... Now they can't fucking turn. They're not stupid. The cat pilot knows he's in darkness. He's not like, oh, this is weird. The magical fucking spooky mist shield goes away as well because they start their turn. They wanted to fucking turn again and broadside you with 4 cannons from the other side and just fucking blow you out of the water. They can't because they aren't stupid and they know they're gonna fucking do it. Like, they know they're gonna fail. They will... There's no point in reloading. There's no point in reloading because you're so close that they know you're gonna fucking try to board them next turn, so they can't reload the cannons is pointless. Fuck. But they can't stay still because then they'll get the sitting duck property. They're gonna movement 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. They have to hit the rock because of how big their ship is. So they have to make a piloting check to avoid collision. They have fucking disadvantage because the fucking pilot's blind. And then that's disadvantage 10. They hit the rock. They hit the rock going their movement, so they take 25 damage from hitting the rock. And then they have to finish their movement. That's the rule, so they go here. Well, try not to think about it like that. Now their fucking back is facing you, so they can't board. So they'll try a disadvantage piloting check to turn. Fucking disadvantage piloting check. So don't roll 4d10 again. They don't take the damage again. Shut up. Okay, that's 1, and then at disadvantage, they actually succeed. Thank God. They turn, and then they're not adjacent to you, so they use their third captain action to dash to move again. They move 2. So now they're adjacent to you, so they can board. Adjacent enough. And then they're fucking... But they can't board because they're out of captain actions. So they're going to crew action... No, they don't have any crew actions that would affect boarding? You never casted the wind wall. They're gonna crew action. One guy on the deck is gonna shoot you. He's gonna shoot a random person on the deck. Basically. He's just gonna take a wild shot at the boat. He's gonna roll a d8. It's left to right. Just like the it's front to back, just like it was for the darkness cannonball. So Sai. Sai, he's gonna make a fucking regular short bow attack at you because why not? Does a 23 hit you? Cool. Sai, please mark off. It's a short bow, so it's a 1d6 plus 3. You take 7 arrow damage. Concentration check for darkness. DC 10. So it's Constitution saving throw. You drop it anyway. So yeah, your darkness goes away. Your darkness goes away, and what? What? What's the range on Hellish Rebuke? It's like 30 feet. Yeah. 30 feet. 60. I mean, deck of the ship. And well, I'm trying to think because you haven't taken the boarding action, which means your ships are not next to each other. Your ship alone is 20 feet wide. Their ship's like 40 feet wide. Fine. Tell you what, he's gonna get advantage on the deck save, but you can cast it. Your racial Hellish Rebuke. Yeah, he takes half regardless. Okay, what's your it's what, the DC 13 for your racial save for Hellish Rebuke? Because it's your charisma. Oh wow, that 3d10, huh? 3-3-2 on 3d10. He is going to roll a d20 plus 3. So 13. So I believe we said it's so that's meets it, beats it. And then yeah, it's supposed to be 13. So he takes 4 fire damage. He does take 4 fire damage. Can you what? Can you what? Okay, I'm going to say that hit Pirate Minion 2. Pirate Minion 2 takes 4 hit points of damage. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'd be upset if you didn't. And unfortunately, they end their turn. So, it's Captain, your turn. Granted, they're behind you. You are going to have to turn around. But if you turn around successfully and you turn sideways, you can attempt to board them. Yeah, it'll hit. Yeah, it's a 3rd level spell. He gets it for free from his ring. Yeah. That's the important question. Can you make the turn? Yes. Let me look at the map. If you boarded, he would be 40 feet, but the boats aren't together. And you're on the gun, and your ship is pointed forward. So, if the ship is yay long, because it's bigger than yours, I'm going to just round it and say 100. Yeah, about 100 to the captain. Yes. His order board. Then crew action, hypnotic pattern, second caption, order board. $14, that succeeds. So you turn. I assume you are now. I'll fix it for you, but I assume you are now going to. Give me a sec. And then so now you're hypnotic. Okay, so I will say with your hypnotic pattern, given how big the boat is, you are going to be able to hit up to 3 minions, right? Would you like to target? They are close enough that you can see the people on deck. There appear to be people who are ranged, people who are melee, and people who are in charge. You can either hit 3 melee, 2 melee and a ranged, or 2 people or 1 person who appears to be in charge. The captain is off in the back by himself. So would you like to attempt to hit the captain? Or would you like to hit multiple minions? Okay, in that case, if you pick that, you can pick there's 2 melees in range on the front of the boat, and there's 2 melees in range in the back of the boat in front of the captain. But not like they're still like 15 feet away, but they're in that section. Would you like to hit the ones closer to the captain or the ones closer to the front of the boat? Okay, in that case, that's going to be Pirate Minion 1, Pirate Minion 3, and Pirate Gunner 1. Please click Hypnotic Pattern for me so we could see the spell save DC and we could see the save. 30 for cube. Yep, 30 for pattern. Failed save becomes charmed for the duration. It has a speed of 0 and is incapacitated. The spell ends if they take damage for any reason or if someone uses their action to shake them out of the stupor. And that is a wisdom. DC 12 wisdom. So, first things first. Pirate Minion 1. Character sheet. He is going to make a wisdom save. He is not proficient in wisdom saving throws. 15. The other one will be Pirate Minion 3. Wisdom save. 8. And the other one is going to be Pirate Gunner. And that will be a 5. However, and this is an actually very good use of this spell, because you notice as your boats get closer, where you saw the individual pirate minions, you realize that they are not singular minions. It is every single, what you thought was one like person doing work. As you cut through the fog and you look closer, every minion appears to be a group of very dedicated, tightly unioned minions, plural. There appears to be 5 in any given time, and they are working as a conjoined unit, as a sort of sub-squad on this crew. They are immune to charm effects and incapacitation effects and fear effects that single target. However, because the cube is big enough that it would hit 5 creatures, technically, they would fail as a group and still be subject to the effect of hypnotic pattern. However, something like Charm Person would fail instantly, because if you charmed one of the 5, the other 4 would just wake them up immediately. But because the fucking hypnotic pattern's so wide, this is why I told you could only hit 3. You're not hitting 3, you're hitting 15. So no, you notice the gunners operate independently. They hang towards the back of the ship and they operate independently. So he was never immune. He just straight up failed. The minion swarms, they're swarms of minions, they realize, oh fuck, and you watch as all 5 of them just like stare emptily into space and they just stop moving. Of Pirate Minion Swarm 3, Pirate Minion 1 is unaffected because it rolled a 15, and the gunner is also affected. I'm going to be marking those tokens with pink dots to let you know that they are charmed, and since they are charmed, they're incapacitated, which means their movement speed is 0 and a bunch of other things. That is the crew action. I assume you're going to take your next action to boarding action. Cool. Then, as you initiate the boarding action, I will move the map once again. It's one of the strongest spells at like 3rd level spells. You just have to get lucky. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, right? When it works, it works. And, yeah. And as I change the map, you now face the enemy pirate crew. I couldn't find one where 2 boats were right next to each other, but one was bigger than the other, so I drew a boat. Technically speaking, their boat is like 50% bigger than yours, but it was hard to draw that to scale, and also I'm not an artist, and also I was doing this at work. So for the sake of this combat, if it's a square on their boat, it's 10 feet of movement. If it's a square on your boat, it's 5 feet of movement, because their boat is bigger than yours.
And with that, ship-to-ship combat has ended, ultimately resulting in both ships being severely damaged, and some expert maneuvering and use of inspiration around our party allows for them to be the ones initiating the boarding. By doing this, as well as the very intelligent use of the hypnotic pattern spell to incapacitate multiple people on deck, this allows for our party to get the proverbial jump on the enemy pirate crew and initiate a true ship-to-ship D&D combat. Unfortunately, it's going to be really hard to watch that, seeing as you're not going to hear what they say they do, so I am just going to shave that down a bit, and then at the end I will just give a couple of minute explanation of how the first round of combat goes, and then it ends after the first round on a cliffhanger, and then hopefully next week it's fixed.
Technically speaking, like it would be on the other side. So in that, well, no, don't move. What I'm gonna do is what would happen? Yes, is that the entire boat would just get shifted, and they would all move like this. Okay. So you do notice, Calyx, as the boats slam into each other, standing next to the captain, coming out of what appears to be behind some sort of box, you see an orc, completely gray in skin, holding some sort of ritual staff adorned with bones and talons. They appear to have several dozen slash marks on their skin, scars of some kind that have since done damage and healed. And, as a result of this, they look very intimidating and tough. They stand next to the captain, who you now see is a tiny 2-foot-tall goblin on a box, giving orders to everyone around. He wears a big poofy black hat with a big pink feather in it, and he's wearing very fancy leathers. And you also see the 2 pirate gunners whip around in fear because they're supposed to be in the back, and now they aren't. Well, one of them does that. The other one is staring aimlessly into space. And at that point, I can show you the initiative order. I pre-rolled their initiative because I knew you would board them and that they wouldn't board you. You all get to roll initiative now at advantage. Captain Slipster starts his turn. He goes, ha-ha, pray! And then he fucking... Slipster is going to... Yeah. So, Slipster is going to move his first free diagonal, and then 10, and then he's going to go forward, and then he's going to jump with his increased movement off deck, land next to Calyx. He looks up at Calyx because he is 2 feet tall. Calyx is like 6'5", and then he goes to fucking shiv you. He is going to attack with his rapier. You have not moved yet. He's going to rapier at normal. Does a 24 hit you? You take 11 piercing and 6 sneak attack because he doesn't need an ally within 5 feet to trick sneak attack because he's a swashbuckler. You take that. Then he's going to Fury of the Small. So since he damaged a creature that's bigger than him, you are bigger than him by several feet. He can do extra damage equal to his proficiency bonus. So you don't take 17, you take a total of 20 damage. He then is going to bonus action dash, and he's just going to hop back onto his ship. With Rakish Audacity, you do not get to make an opportunity attack, so you cannot Sentinel. And then he goes do. Yeah, well, for everyone who isn't a swashbuckler rogue. And then he goes and... No, because he didn't do a diagonal. So he was here, which is on your ship. He 5 feet to jump onto his ship, 15, right? And then 20, 30. And he has more, and you know he has more than 35. I'm sorry, at this point, you've seen him move, he has 35. But the math checks out. Yeah. Yeah, I know, imagine. He will then end his turn. Cole, it is your turn.
After watching Calyx get stabbed by the captain of the enemy pirate crew, Cole springs into action with the first initiative of the party and rolls an advantage stealth for a natural 20 for a total of 30, perfectly hiding from the enemy. After this, he immediately shoots a light crossbow attack at the captain and hits the captain. Not able to see someone with a 30 plus stealth, is unable to uncanny dodge this damage and takes the full 27 damage of the arrow plus the sneak attack. And then Cole ends his turn out in the open at the base of the deck.
Okay, it is Pirate Minion 3. They're equal, so it's tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is I say 3 goes first. 3 is currently incapacitated. His turn is skipped. 4, and he goes, wow, that guy just shot my fucking captain. What the fuck? Yeah. He's then going to go 5, 10, 20, 30, action dash, jump 5. I'm sorry. It would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. He occupies your space. You watch as 5 dudes with scimitars surround Cole. Like, it's just like a circle of 5 guys holding up swords, and they're all looking down at Cole. And they are now occupying your space. So they are currently activating Swarm. They can occupy your space. Ignore the part that says Tiny Insect. I forgot to remove that. However, they can't regain HP or temporary hit points. They action dashed, so they can't attack you immediately, but they're gonna get you. Remember the Ravens. Ataraxia, it is your turn.
After the pirate minions move and ultimately surround Cole, Ataraxia takes her turn and does the druid special that definitely doesn't annoy me. I'm not bitter, you're bitter. Where she summons a bunch of wolves again on a crowded ship. The wolves are placed in opportune positions, all giving each other pack tactics, and then she ends her turn by transforming herself into a direwolf using a bonus action with combat wild shape, allowing her to have a extra pool of hit points and a better constitution save to maintain the wolves summon.
Brontes, it is your turn.
After Ataraxia summons a horde of wolves, it is Bronte's turn. He attempts to significantly damage the enemy vessel and the crew by launching a fireball. However, he did not account for the orcish blood shaman on the deck, who, upon realizing what he was doing, immediately cast a ritualistic counterspell, taking a little bit of damage in the process, but erasing his spell and ultimately cutting his turn short.
Gunner 1 is Confusion. Sai.
On Sai's turn, she unleashes the power of one of her new spell slots and cantrips and casts Toll the Dead on the captain. The captain does roll a 20 wisdom save and avoids all damage, but not before she turns around and uses a bonus action and one of her warlock abilities to Hexblade's Curse the captain, preventing him from hiding from her and giving her a myriad of bonuses to attacking.
Okay. Ivy's turn. She has not received orders, so she will take the dodge action until she receives orders. It is the wolves' turn.
Next up is the wolves that Ataraxia summoned. They swarm the pirates on the enemy ship and, using a combination of expert placement and pack tactics, attack the majority of the crew at advantage for a decent amount of damage, many of the crew failing the required strength save to knock the attacked creature prone. They do also damage some of the charmed individuals from the hypnotic pattern, snapping them out of the hypnotic pattern, but leaving them prone on the deck regardless.
Pirate Minions 2. Pirate Minions 2 is going to... I fucking closed their sheet. I'm so mad. I closed it because I had to make all the saves. Okay, Pirate Minion 2, it has more than half of its health. It is going to attack... it's going to move 5, 10. Take 2 attacks of opportunity from the wolves. The first one will be at advantage. The second one will not. So that's a miss. And that's a hit for 9 piercing, half to 5. Cool. That was 10 feet of movement. Right, so it's 15. And then I used a diagonal. So that would be 25. And then he's going to attack Cole with advantage. He is now below half health because of the attack of opportunity, but he still gets to a try at least. Natural 20 for Okay, so 10 halved to 5. You take 5 slashing damage. Charles has not received an order, so he will take the dodge action until he receives an order. Pirate Minion 5. Pirate Minion 5 is going to make a advantage attack on the wolf below him at full health. The wolf, natural 20, the wolf takes 19 damage and explodes. I'll delete it for you. And then he's going to... that's 10, 20, 30. Pirate Minion 2, or Gunner 2. There isn't a wolf next to him, so he stands up. He's going to reach into his bag. He pulls out a long, cylindrical metal object that none of you have seen before, and then he points it at the giant direwolf that summoned a bunch of wolves. Welcome to the real world. Musket shot at the wolf. 24 to hit. Second musket shot. 20 to hit. 11 and a 6 for damage. Both of those hit. Both of those deal full damage. That's 17 damage total. I need 2 DC 10 Constitution saves, or all the wolves disappear. Answer. What's the spell? If it hits the activation trigger. On which one? Yes, you can. So yeah, mark off the spell slot, and then he will re-roll it. So this... Well, first things first, who are you giving advantage to? Okay, and then he will roll the musket again. It hits, but it does less damage. So you are taking a total of 10 damage at Araxia, and you're making 2 Constitution saving throws. Both are DC 10. Your first one is at advantage. The wolf, using the wolf's con save. So the first one will be at advantage because of your silvery barbs, and so that succeeds. Second one is a straight roll. That meets it, beats it. So you still have the wolves. Okay. Cool. Orc Shaman gets up, looks at the wolves, laughs, looks at Calyx, pulls a knife out, stabs the knife into her arm, and starts to drag it down. She's going to summon something too. She's going to cast Conjure Demon. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. No, you used your action already. Cast Silvery Barbs. 1 shows up. Change layer. Tokens. The second one shows up. Change layer. Tokens. Hello, they say to the wolf who summoned wolves. These are cackling maw demons. Say hello. They get to roll, and they get to roll initiative. Hey, they rolled a 0. That means they get to take their turn this turn. Isn't that nice? Cool. As a she does that. She cast a... What level spell is that? Orc Blood Shaman. Fourth level, so she takes... No, I'm saying they get their turn this round. If they had rolled a 20, they wouldn't have gotten it. 46, 20... Okay, she deals 20 damage to herself. Ooh, I grabbed the ship. That was stupid. I'm a big dummy. Cool. She took the damage. Bonus action points at Slipster. Level 2 healing word. So that's 2d4 plus her wisdom, which is a +3. So he heals 4. So fucking awful roll. Heals +7. No. That's her turn. She is going to rotate around Wolf, but she does not get opportunity attack. Calyx, your turn. Pirate Minion 2. Okay, make an attack roll. That hits for 5 damage. Okay, attack again. Yeah, just Mike peeked. Misses. One of the minions jumps in front of another minion and blocks it with a sword. Okay. Kazric Steel Fist. Yes, you'd be jumping directly down.
Kazric, in his first combat with the party, jumps down off the 20-foot crow's nest, slamming onto the deck and taking significant bludgeoning damage, but not before launching into a rage, where you see a suspicious liquid begins to run down his prosthetic arm, and he begins to wildly swing at the enemies with reckless abandon, ultimately dealing a little bit of damage, but not enough, and not nearly as much as he wished it was.
Pirate Minion 1 is going to see that there's like a bunch of wolves. That's pretty fucked up. They will take an attack of opportunity from one of the wolves, and they'll move here. So Addy, you can go ahead and roll that while you're rolling that, because they can't go prone anyway. They're going to advantage attack the wolf. They have full health. 15 hit the wolf for 9 slashing. I believe hits and kills it. But please double check. I believe they have 8 health. Or do they have 11? Okay, so this one goes down to 2. Then on initiative count 0, the laughter begins. And you just see, I mean, Addy, you're a wolf, but you just hear this absolutely devious, just like chuckle that starts to build and build into this raucous laughter. And you see these two creatures begin to kind of scuttle around you. And they're going to eat Ataraxia. Oh, yeah. Advantage bite. Wow. Double 7. Pain. Second cackling maw. 20 hits for 10 damage. Yeah. 10 damage. Please make me another Constitution saving throw. DC 10. Natural 20. Nope. Yeah, right. And then I will say to we will end on Captain Slipster's we will end this session on Captain Slipster's turn. Captain Slipster will look at the barbarian who just showed up, and then he will see you. He is then going to bonus action use Nimble Escape for being a goblin. He will then leave. It does extra damage when Psy hits him. And then he can move to here with his increased movement speed. He is then going to whip out a short bow and shoot the giant wolf. The demons are counted as allies for him, so he gets sneak attack. Though he's using his short bow, which is worse than his rapier. So a 24 to hit, Addy. I'm sorry, no. He's going to use Fear of the Small, because you are a size large creature, because you're a direwolf. So you're going to take 23 damage. You're going to take 23 damage. Are you still a direwolf? Cool. Then you're going to make a Constitution saving throw as Ataraxia, not a direwolf, and the DC will be 23 half rounded up, which would be 12. Oh, you're going to do the overflow damage? Yeah, so you had, 17 as a direwolf? Yeah, 6 away. Okay, and now DC 12 con save. You didn't have advantage, but you rolled an 18. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. And then with that, Ataraxia having been knocked back into tiny form being a form staring down 2 literal demons, Captain Slipster slips into the back of the boat, further away from the party, with a horde of pirate minions and gunners in front of them, an orc shaman there summoning demons and chanting who knows what. And with that, indeterminable combat, who will survive? Who won't survive? Probably the party. Who knows? Until next time.
Yeah, so that's the episode. I have literally no idea what happened with OBS or why it did that. This was an absolute pain in the ass to edit, and I hope I never have to do it again. Hopefully, this was able to make it somewhat watchable. Probably not. Gonna have to do some research to see if that's a continuing issue and some test recordings because I really don't want this to happen again. But this conveniently does give me an excuse during this specific point to say that I did also make a tiny mistake in the combat that you just watched. That was technically the wrong combat because there was a chance that one of the players was not going to be able to make it. So I had a weaker version of the combat just in case that they went in undermanned. They ended up going into with the correct amount of people to the wrong combat, which I will remedy the next time we play, and that will be also addressed at the start of the next episode. Since people are, I don't know, maybe listening to this, this is also the point where I'll say, hey, to anyone who cared about Hunter's Guide, Season 2 will be starting very, very shortly, and we're going back into the alternating upload schedule. I will update that on the Twitter. God, I'm old. On the X. And then for those of you interested in that, that will be coming out. That is going to be another 5 to 6 episode season for Hunter's Guide, and then so on and so forth. And then back to the regularly scheduled Ophisterra programming, assuming OBS doesn't make me want to jump off a bridge by continuing to have this be a problem. Otherwise, I might have to find alternative recording softwares or something to that effect. Like I said, terribly sorry again that this had to be this way. Certainly not my intention. More work for everybody. I try to avoid that when possible, and here's hoping that it's fixed. Until next time, but for real this time.